Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Southerner's Northern Gardens. So today I'm going to be putting down some landscaping fabric to cover the area behind me where the fence will go. I want to talk a little bit about the landscaping fabric I use first. It's 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲. So this is what the fabric looks like. You've probably seen it in a couple of my videos. It is a polypropylene material. It's blocks out almost 100% of the light. It's like 99 or 98%, so you can put it directly over green grass and the grass will die off underneath it. And that's what I did back in the mini orchard to my right here, and what I'll be doing here, because in my garden I only use landscaping fabric in areas where I will not be planting anything. I like a lot of my perennials to naturalize, and in that instance you can't use landscaping fabric, else when the seed drops and begins to germinate, the roots won't have an entry into the soil. So this is the best landscape fabric on the market. It's used in commercial applications. You may be concerned with how water will seep through it. It's actually got a felt coating on the back. You probably can't see it very well, but it's kind of fuzzy here, and that allows water to drain through when it contacts the ground. So the difference between this and a lot of the landscaping fabrics you will find at the big box store is those are typically transparent. You can actually see through them. You can't put them directly over any type of weed and have it suppress that weed immediately without killing off the weed underneath it first. So I have found this landscape fabric to be very effective. It's roughly 2 years old back here in the mini orchard. I've had a couple weeds pop up here and there. It's not bulletproof, nothing is, but this also doesn't have mulch on top of it. If I combine this with mulch and put it on top of the landscaping fabric, then it is almost a bulletproof measure. So as I mentioned, I only use landscaping fabric in the instance where I don't want to plant anything in it, except for my trees, obviously, in the mini orchard. Landscaping fabric is great in those instances. It is not good if you want to improve your soil at all. It prevents any good, like mulch, from mixing in with the existing soil. Like I have really bad clay soil. If I was going to put landscape fabric down and intended on planting in it, that would not be a good idea, because it just would not allow that soil to get better and better over time as I amend it. But here is the perfect opportunity to put it, because eventually these trees will grow up towards the fence that is going to be installed, and there'll be nothing under that landscaping fabric or planted in that landscaping fabric anyway. And to suppress grass and weeds on the boundary of my property, because we have a retention pond behind us, when they come and mow that, a lot of weed seeds get thrown into the air, and I actually have a serious weed problem on all the boundaries of my property. Not so much in my lawn itself, but there are a lot of thistles and stuff back here in this back flower bed around the willow that are just pervasive and very difficult to get rid of. So when I'm installing this landscaping fabric, there are a couple tools I like to use. So because this is a polypropylene material that is woven, you typically want to have a propane torch or something of that nature to, after you get it cut, singe the edges. So it can be cut with a regular box cutter, but if you don't sear the edges, it could come unraveled over time. So just searing them slightly with this very quickly will singe those edges together, so that does not happen. The only other thing you really need for installation is landscaping staples. Now you can purchase these at the big box store. They can be expensive. If you're installing as much landscape fabric as I'm going to be installing, and if you have drip irrigation, I recommend you purchase them in bulk. You can get them from Amazon. I purchase my landscape fabric staples from 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲. It's kind of a weird name, but I'll put a link below. And these landscape staples happen to be a little longer than what you would find in the big box store, and it worked really well for me. You can get these either galvanized or non-galvanized. I prefer the non-galvanized, so it does actually rust, because it helps hold the staple in the ground a little more after it starts rusting. And then just a rubber mallet, any variety. This is a cheap one from Lowe's, $5 to $10, and I've gone through 2 or 3 of these since I've been gardening. Putting in landscaping fabric. Installing the metal edging was also a great use for this. Before I get started, I'm going to be removing this metal edging because I want the landscape fabric to overlap, and if you watch my last video, I'm not a big fan of the metal edging. If you have not seen that video, check it out. It's the last one in the queue. We have a little bit of cloud cover. I'm going to try and get through this fairly quickly because I need to get it done. I have a lot of projects like that I just need to hammer down and get them done. So I'll record, first thing is going to be removing this metal edging. Rather simple. I'll need to bump it apart with this rubber mallet, and then we'll get going. So what I'm going to do now is turn on the sprinkler system. I do have 2 sprinklers right here, and because it's probably going to be October before the fence is installed, I still want those sprinkler systems operational. So I'm going to burn a little hole in the landscaping fabric with my burner here where the sprinkler heads are, so they can still pop up and water this lawn or any plants I plant in this area. So there's a sprinkler head right around here-ish. That is the end of this line. So that line runs down and up towards the front of the property. So when these lines are terminated, I expect it will be dug up over there and capped, and so that will be the last sprinkler head on the line. So these can just stay in place underneath the mulch at that time. So let me turn these sprinkler heads on, and hopefully I don't get too wet. So hopefully you could see that back there. I have now a perfectly little round hole that the sprinkler head can pop up through. And then I will just keep that grass trimmed, and then when there's mulch over it, I'll cover it up with a little tiny piece of landscaping fabric so it will just die off. But that will allow my sprinkler system, me to be able to run it the rest of the zone and to keep some of these plants watered overhead for the rest of the season. So let me finish putting these landscaping staples down where they need to go, and I'll be right back. So what you probably noticed is I did not put landscape staples on this side of the fabric. That's because the fence will run kind of right between these 2 lines, so I want the fence company to be able to lift this up and just dig under it. One thing I want to take you down here is show you how to singe the end of the landscaping fabric where I cut it off. So that fabric will continue on through the willow bed until I have this bed space set up. I can't continue that down through there because I need to remove those daylilies and have somewhere to put them. So my next step after this is complete is to put cardboard down over this entire area. So this entire area right here will be covered with cardboard, and it will allow me to smother that grass out, and I will probably go ahead and put mulch over this area. I will just not leave it back a little bit so it doesn't get on top of this landscaping fabric. After the fence is installed, I'm going to tuck the landscaping fabric under the fence so that I don't have to worry about weed eating or weeds growing under the fence, which is a big concern of mine. I'll be doing that around the entire edge of the fence actually. I'll be putting down the landscaping fabric so I don't have to weed eat around it. So this landscaping fabric that I purchased will not be enough to do the entire property. I'll have to purchase some more. So I got to decide whether I want to keep with the 5-foot width, which is what I'm thinking, a 2-foot mulch line out on the outer edge of the fence and then 3 foot inside, or if I should just buy a 3-foot roll of the next set of this fabric, and that might be how I proceed. We'll see, because I do want to add beds on this side of the fence, the inside of the fence on this side of the yard, and this side of the yard, so I don't want to have to deal with that landscaping fabric when I'm planting plants necessarily, but I do want it to go on the outside of the fence. That way there's a nice edge that can just be mowed directly against and doesn't necessarily have to be weeded against the fence and the trimmer line damaging the aluminum fence. So let me take you down here and show you how you singe the edge of this. I'm running a little bit low on propane from my burner, but hopefully I'll have enough finish so I can get this job done and wrap it up for the evening. So you can definitely see all the weeds that I'm having right here at the edge of my property, and that's one reason I wanted to cover it in this landscaping fabric. But let's see if we can have enough propane to finish off this edge. If not, this edge will be fine until I buy some more propane. It's not a big deal, but hopefully we'll have enough just to finish it. You don't want to hold the torch to the fabric too long. It will obviously burn it really bad, just enough to go over it quickly to singe the edge. So you may be able to see this hole right here where I left the sprinkler line or the sprinkler head. That will continue to water this area until I get the cardboard down for the rest, to cover the rest of this grass. I will of course be taking you along for that. The first thing I need to do is edge and figure out where my bed lines are going to be. So I'll show you my process in doing that. And after that, I will start getting cardboard down on this area. I need to do that as soon as possible. Cardboard can take a month or two to break down, if not longer, depending on how wet it gets, but that's part of the process of leaving these sprinkler heads uncovered. That way I can throw down some extra water and help that break down in this heat a little better. I've got to get that process done pretty quickly because I have some perennials coming in the next month or so, month and a half, that I will be using to build out this area, and so I need to get the cardboard down and this mulched as soon as possible. So hopefully that process will happen this week. That's my intentions. We'll see how the weather cooperates, and if it's cool enough and we have a little overcast like we do now. It's still really hot out here. It's about 85 degrees, but it's more pleasurable to work in when the sun's not directly hitting. So thank you guys for joining me. Stay tuned and follow along. Like, subscribe, and comment below if you have any questions about this landscape fabric in particular, or my next process, and I'll see you guys soon. And remember, in a world full of hate, be a light. Bye everyone.